In terms of our existing infrastructure and initiatives, how can we integrate the government schemes, projects and programs with the private, corporate and public sector schemes and programs? So they private sectors, they themselves are also preparing against the risks and trying to reduce their risks in terms of various kind of safety initiatives. For example, in the industries, you have industry safety regulations. So they are having their own emergency operation control rooms also. So in terms of bigger organizations, which are having huge number of manpower deployed there, or huge resources in terms of equipment or operations, how they can deal with it and what can be provided to the government in terms of our recommendations. So kindly come up with your suggestions, that what do you suggest for enhancing risk reduction and resilience in public, private and corporate sectors. So anybody has any ideas, any comments, any suggestions? You have industries in your areas. Somebody in the previous session talked to us that there are industrial hubs in the coastal areas, right? And these are actually increasing the vulnerabilities as well as the risk in coastal areas. So how are we going to maintain or manage those risks so that the people do not suffer much whenever any disaster strikes? And what kind of risk can be exposed to because of these industry? Somebody told in the previous session, the gas supply because of Ujjwala Yojana recently has become 3 times in Odisha, in the coastal areas. Now the 3 times increase has also increased 3 times transportation, storage and utilization. So that means we have increased at least 3 times risk of getting exposed to gas leakages, explosion, blasting or fire. So what do you think in those terms? I am giving for your example. Any ideas, Shrivi?
The whole issues, industrialization and related issues are common in everywhere. It is not a coast specific issues. So the issue is when you talk about the climate change and the disasters in the coastal areas, we have to be more focused on awareness in the coastal areas, and there the industries can play a very vital role, like the manpower they have. What is the interaction this manpower is having with the government policies? Whether they are the carriers of these messages. Yes, yes. Yes, they also should be in close connection with the policies which government of India is introducing. And this awareness also can be a part of their CSR. Rather than CSR as such and spending that amount somewhere else, they identify and allocate some amount and spend it somewhere else. Rather than that, a coordinated effort with the government programs along with the industry as a part of CSR will be more meaningful. Similarly, evacuation, wherever they have the industrial hubs, and how these industrial units are affecting the coastal erosion. I'm again going back to the coastal erosion program because there are huge the ports which is coming up. What is the impact of this port on the coastal area in the adjoining areas? How the people are going to be affected? Whether the vulnerable people can be evacuated using the CSR of these ports. So these are some of the concerns we can seriously think of.
Very rightly pointed out by Dr. Sharif ji from Geological Survey of India that we have certain specific industries like harbors, ports, jetties, ships, which are different from other areas, and they may have a different risk. For example, oil spillage is one of the issues which has been faced in coastal areas. And he had suggested us to have a coordinated and linked effort along with district administration or state government. Well taken. What are the other ideas?
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon. My name is Nishit Upadhyay. I'm commanding 2nd Battalion NDRF, which is located at Kolkata. In month of November, we have carried out a joint mark exercise, tabletop exercise, and some presentation. That is, you can say, basic training of CBR with Port Trust of India at Kolkata. And again, day after tomorrow, that is on 27 and 28, we are going to conduct a CBRN basic training for Port Trust of India handlers at Haldia, which is a industrial hub in West Bengal. And during this basic training about the CBRN with port handlers as well as the local community also, in case of any emergency, how to mitigate such type of disaster and what will be the role of the local administration as well as the what will be the role of community also. So we are imparting training with the Port Trust of India at various places with the stakeholders, local administration and community. And besides this, there are number of industrial hubs in the bank of the river Hooghly in West Bengal, like jute mills and some chemical. There are some industries which are using chemical hazardous material also, and we have apprised these issues to our state administration, and at certain level and at certain time of span, we generally carry out the joint mock exercise with the industrial hubs, different units, with the stakeholder, local administration, and besides this, we are indulging ourselves to enhance the capacity of the local administration also. Other stakeholder like civil defense, like SDRF, like industrial unit safety man, like that. So this is one of the method that we are adopting. We are carrying out the community awareness program, school safety program, especially those schools which are lying in the coastal area. And whatever the unit nearby to Hooghly Bank and coastal area, which type of environment they are working their unit, which type of you can say that vulnerability profile. We have mapping out the vulnerability profile, and accordingly we are imparting the training how to handle it, and at a certain life of certain time of interval, we generally carry out the joint mock exercise and then just.
Thank you. And DRF is already doing some capacity building initiatives, which he has already told, along with not only the industrial people but also along with communities, and involving the local level response forces and civil defense. So it's a appreciable step. Maybe we can also document this, that already this is being done by NDRF, by local battalions in the areas. And what about any other inputs? Yeah, please.
District collector and district administration and industries. No industries. There is no staff, additional staff is not, sufficient staff are not in the industries department. District industries officer only available, other district manager is available. There is no coordination. CSR funds also 2% they are giving, but they are utilizing local roads or MP or minister other purpose. Other side area, they are construction works are taken. Like school compounds are this type of disaster management కానీ లేకపోతే హెల్త్ సెంటర్స్ ఇంప్రూవ్మెంట్ కానీ మనకు అప్పుడప్పుడు వస్తూ ఉంటాయి. ఇండస్ట్రీస్లో కూడా డిజాస్టర్ వస్తూ ఉంటుంది. అప్పుడు దిస్ నో మెడికల్ ఫెసిలిటీస్ ఆర్ అంబులెన్స్. లాస్ట్ గోదావరి ఫ్లడ్స్ 10-15 బోటు మిస్సాప్ జరిగింది సార్ గోదావరిలో. 30 every day 2-3 bodies are found. They are all in the Telangana district from Hyderabad or Warangal. Shifting there is no ambulance. Mahaprasthana vehicles are available in the only non-government organization. We are asked and they provided. With body decompose avukunda పంపాలి కదా సార్ మనం. సో అందువల్ల ఫెసిలిటీస్ లేదు. ఈ టైప్లో మన హెల్త్ సెంటర్స్ని కానీ అలా మహాప్రస్థాన వెహికల్స్ని కానీ ఇంప్రూవ్ చేసుకున్నట్లయితే మనం ఇమీడియట్గా పబ్లిక్ యొక్క ఇది మనం చేయగలం. పబ్లిక్లో గవర్నమెంట్ కానీ లేదా నాన్ గవర్నమెంట్ ఆర్గనైజేషన్ ఉన్నాయి, డిజాస్టర్ వచ్చినప్పుడు తెలుస్తుంది సార్. So more in coordination in between industries and local district administration ఉన్నట్టయితే more effectiveగా కంట్రోల్ చేయాలి.
I think one of the most important point that you mentioned is when you are living close to the rivers or the seaside, you need some kind of boat ambulances or ship ambulances, which may be used for transportation of victims. Mhm. Thank you. Uh, I'm actually from Rajasthan. Not from but anyway, so yes, you are.
हाँ, ये जो पब्लिक सेक्टर और इस तरह के जो कंपनीज हैं, अभी हम लोगों ने प्रैक्टिकली यहाँ अभी किया था 12 फरवरी में सिडकुल में, तो इसमें करीब 20 कंपनीज इन्वॉल्व हुई थी। लेकिन जो उसका मॉडल था, उसका ये था कि प्रशासन और इंडस्ट्रीज, लोकल जो और भी एनजीओ के साथ था, वो लगभग फेल जैसा ही था। तो ये चीज़ें जो कोस्टल एरिया में हैं, खासतौर से उसके बारे में वहाँ कंपनी के लोगों को इसकी जानकारी हो, इसकी इम्पोर्टेंस, और वीकली और मंथली और 3 मंथ पर एक अलग-अलग छोटे-छोटे मॉक ड्रिल भी रखते हैं ताकि वो प्रैक्टिस हो, कि एंड टाइम पे जब कुछ आता है, हाँ, तो वो नहीं, हाँ, हाँ, तो वो उसके लिए बहुत ज़रूरी है। तो नहीं तो क्या होता है कि हम जानते रहते हैं लेकिन प्रैक्टिकली वो चीज़ हमारे साथ नहीं होती।
More awareness and sensitization is required regarding the resources, hazards, and vulnerabilities that we can summarize in that manner. I think your colleague at the back, Sujit, last.
जैन सर, आई एम सुरजीत सिंह फ्रॉम एनडीआरएफ। सर, जैसा कि सर ने बताया और आज हमारे जो चीफ गेस्ट थे ओपनिंग सेरेमनी के शर्मा सर, उन्होंने भी ये मेंशन किया था कि जो हमारा सप्लाई ड्रिवन की बजाय से डिमांड ड्रिवन हो तो ज़्यादा बेहतर है। इस पे एनडीएमए के इनिशिएटिव के तहत एक काम किया गया था लाइव स्टॉक मैनेजमेंट के ऊपर। अगर हम जैसे कि सीएसआर रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी के तहत सर ने अभी प्रीवियस स्पीकर ने जिक्र किया कि रोड्स बन जाते हैं और दूसरी चीज़ों में वो फंड्स यूटिलाइज होते हैं। हाँ, तो अगर वो लोकल कम्युनिटी या कोस्टल रीजन में जो फिशरमैन्स हैं, अगर उनकी डिमांड्स को एक्सेप्ट किया जाए कि उन्हें बेसिकली क्या है, सर ने मेंशन किया कि उन्हें वाटर एम्बुलेंस मिल जाए तो ज़्यादा बेहतर होगा। इसी प्रकार से उनके जो कैच है उसको लंबे टाइम तक प्रिजर्व, क्योंकि अगर हम कोई अलर्ट कर देते हैं साइक्लोन्स के टाइम पे, एक लोकल कम्युनिटी या जो फिशरमैन है जो सोशियो इकोनॉमिकली वनरेबल साइड में है, तो उसके लिए बड़ा डिफ़िकल्ट है 7 दिन तक खाली हाथ बैठ जाना। तो क्यों ना उसके लिए कुछ ऐसे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलप किए जाएँ, कुछ कोल्ड स्टोरेज बनाए जाएँ या कुछ और ऐसा कि वो अपनी कैच को लंबे टाइम तक प्रिजर्व कर सके, मार्केट में बेच सके, उसकी आजीविका चल सके बेसिकली। या जो बाकी पशुपालन कर रहे हैं, इसमें उड़ीसा में कुछ काम हुआ है लेकिन वो बहुत ही रूडिमेंट्री स्टेज में है, उसमें बहुत कुछ किया जा सकता है। या जो हमारी नेचुरल वाइल्ड लाइफ है, फॉर एग्जांपल आसाम के जो ब्रह्मपुत्र बेल्ट जो है, जो हर साल फ्लड के अंदर काफ़ी लॉस होता है उनको या मारे जाते हैं, तो क्यों ना कुछ उनके लिए भी फोकस किया जाए। सिर्फ हम आदमी इंसानों को ही बचाने की बात ना करें, उनको भी करें, क्योंकि कहीं ना कहीं वो उनसे रिलेट करता है। अभी रिसेंटली एनडीआरएफ ने ऑर्गेनाइज़ किया था सेकंड बीमस्टैक एक्सरसाइज, उसमें थीम रखा था हेरिटेज का, सेव हेरिटेज। तो जो हमारी कोस्टल बेल्ट में हेरिटेज है, क्यों ना उनको भी किए, क्योंकि वो भी किसी ना किसी को रोजी रोटी का साधन है, उस टूरिज्म इंडस्ट्री को भी वो सपोर्ट करता है। तो क्यों ना उन स्ट्रक्चर्स को भी हम बचाएं जो कोस्टल बेल्ट में एक अब और इस और लोकल कम्युनिटी की डिमांड्स को ध्यान में रखें, जैसा कि प्रीवियस स्पीकर ने बहुत अच्छे से इस पॉइंट को रखा।
Actually, we are talking about the vulnerable population. I want to know is there any documentation from the government side that who are the vulnerable population? Like what are the factors that on which we are addressing that this is the vulnerable population? Have any documentation any documented something from where I know that these people are vulnerable to the cyclone hazard. Like for the cyclone hazard also who will go? How will I know that these people are the vulnerable?
This is done as part of DM planning, and that information is shared in the DM plans, the detail of the people, the households, and the affected areas depending on the degree of vulnerability is decided based on different factors. So, but basically, what we wanted there is what kind of additions can be done, modifications can be done. If you feel in any existing approaches, we need to make some change. That's the thing here. Please.
Thank you for having us here. Two points. CSR Act now has included natural disasters, but there's a practical challenge, and I'm placing it here for us to be able to identify a way forward. Most large companies with a CSR spend are already going out and making their allocations at the start of the year. Right? So technically, when there is a disaster that strikes, even when there is intent to help, usually there are no resources left because they've already been spent. Yeah, no allocation. The offset of that also is that usually CSR bill also talks about spending money in the local vicinity, right? And whilst disaster strikes another part of the country, it's becoming difficult for us to be able to change that. So we have to find a mechanism to be able to open that gate up for us to be able to respond to another part of the country that needs that. Number two is, and this is not a suggestion, this is something that we've been doing. I wanted to just place this as record. For about 2 years now, what we've done is we've built a cloud-based platform to be able to understand the requirements on the ground and dynamically support it. Okay. So if there's one relief camp that's supporting 700 people with X number of men, Y women, and their children, what is the requirement and how can we go about supporting them? With a tracking mechanism, usually from the time you make a request to the time you receive the material, there's a long window, right? And the people at the end of the affair don't know what they're getting into. So we've built out a platform which is almost like an Amazon tracking system. Know how much material have I asked for, where is it, when is it coming in, how much has been shipped, how much has been coming in. It's been developed. It's a cloud-based application. So just placing it on record that at any point of time, this is a scalable model. If there is a requirement for anybody to use it, we are happy to share the license. I'm Bhaskar. We work together. We work on other issues. So disaster management is one of them. One thing, we work on urban flooding also, apart from the coastal thing. For the last few years, we are involved in water-related work. One key thing which has been happening globally, which we haven't picked up enough, is water-sensitive design. What we call as water-sensitive design, we call it water-sensitive urban design here. And in some places it's called low impact development, in some places sponge cities and those kinds of things. So what we can do in the coastal areas, when you already have a DM planning and profiling, then you know the vulnerable population and how it's going to impact. Probably as part of the development planning, because there are coastal corridors and the coastal corridor developments, so many things are there. We can actually come up with parameters in terms of low impact development, which will not affect the coastal areas and other. We can risk reduction part of it also. We can think about that, and then that parameters and those kinds of things. These things have to be. This checklist has to be fulfilled whenever you are talking about a development in terms of port or in terms of any other thing that we are looking at, which involves chemicals and those kinds of things. So that can actually come up with some of those things. So whatever term we want to use, we can work about it. I don't have a template for this, but this is my idea.
Zone, which has classified the activities which is permitted, controlled, and totally banned. But there also the coastal regulation zone, how scientific it is the question. So we need to understand just like India-Pakistan boundary, we should not make a coastal regulation zone by somebody's conveniences and drawing a line and saying this is the coastal regulation zone. It is the geomorphology, it is the hydrogeology, it is the utilization of the people living in that area. So all these factors should be looked into to redefine the coastal regulation zone. That's what we think.
No doubt what you said is more important because topography and morphology as well as hydrology itself is there. So that's the part of morphology. We call it as morphology. That's why I called it hydrology. I didn't talk about surface and the ground. I am using general words so that we can cover up ideas. Any other idea? Because now time is towards the discussion within 5 minutes. So if any other points are left out, then you talk.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Akhil Gupta from FICCI. We have a dedicated department within FICCI which looks after disaster management, and we've been doing these conferences over past 10 years. We have done around 35-36 conferences. Our focus is majorly industrial disaster and its management, basically chemical and industrial disaster. So you might be aware that there are more than 1,800 MAH units within the country which are prone to these kind of disasters. So we have been for past years doing conferences, and along with that we also do mock drills as part of the conference. And apart from that, we being industry chamber, we are also running several innovation challenges with different multinational agencies and government of India as well. So what we think is that we have initiated an innovation challenge with Asian Disaster Preparedness Center, and with IIT, ISM has just come on board, and we think government of India should also come on board with it, and we should look for innovative solutions for any for DRR, we can identify the pain points. Yeah, not just for the industrial sector, it can be for identifying pain points that we need to we are looking for answers for. So we can solutions and I think not also from CPM. We should also take care of the business continuity. We are talking about the CSR from the industry, life from the industry. But do we really think of business continuity plan for the industry also? Because there are manpower working within the industry. Their capacity building has to be taken care. Because it is good that they are in the coastal area, which also the coastal region. But what about the industry themselves? There are also manpower working together. Their business continuity plan has to be there. Someone should also come ahead and have some plans for business and for industry work, like capacity building carry forward after a disaster.
Most of the industries which are big ones, they will have BCPs. They have their financial risk management schemes.
That I agree, but still,
yeah, government can intervene, and no doubt,
there should be a synergistic approach so that the risk is minimized, the business continues to start. Business starts again as early as possible
against the window of DRR.
Yeah.
Right. Last point.
Another suggestion, okay. Every time disaster strikes, from a response standpoint, we seem to have a whole bunch of non-governmental organizations coming together to work. Each one bringing their own strength, people who work in this, like for seniors, children, medicines, so on and so forth. An umbrella of non-profit organizations equipped to handle disaster or disaster response. The government of UK has done this very well. They've been able to put together a very good umbrella of organizations who don't end up competing but complementing people in times of need. Maybe for us to be able to think along that line will be great. An umbrella of organizations
who complement each other's skills. For example, on disaster strike from a response standpoint, we need specialized support for seniors. We need specialized support for women. We need specialized support for diabetes. We need specialized support for children. And while all of them are rushing to their respective areas to support, if it can happen under an umbrella, without an entity but an umbrella for them to be able to do this, we will be able to go out and perform much better and complement the requirements better.
We have an incident response system which enables this kind of coordination, and that umbrella is already there, but it's not well known to the other people and organizations. So that needs to be actually addressed. Yeah, we strengthen that. If there are no more points, I think yeah, last.
Sir, I would like to know about CRC that when it was came up first time, 1991. After that, if some places was classified under CRZ 3, is it possible to classify, reclassify it under CRZ 2 under the 2011 notification? It was previously CRZ 3, but some
Now
given
2019.
2011 there was another notification, CRZ notification. And after that, when the West Bengal government planned coastal management plan, they classified that same area in the CRZ 2, but it was previously CRZ 3. As there was some development activity violating the CRZ law or no, they reclassified it under CRZ 2.
Actually, this CRZ, which is defined in terms of distances from high tidal line, no, that is fixed by National Center for Sustainable Coastal Management, and it is under Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. They have prepared now maps on a larger scale. So maybe some differences may be there to some extent, but not a major difference.
State Coastal Zone Management Authority are classifying this area, and National Coastal Zone Management Authority are authorizing that.
Yeah.
So previously, when in 1991 notification, when 1991 notification
That was the first time it was done.
time, and when the Coastal Zone Management plan came up on 1996 for West Bengal, Mandamuni and some other area were classified under CRZ 3 as these were the rural area. But after that time, after 2001 and 2005, there were lots of hotels.
No, kindly give me points that we have to bring to the as an input. What do you suggest about this? Do you have any issues? Can they
when they are violating,
or does it reflect anyway?
Local authorities are violating, or some hotels are violating the CRZ law, and to promote that
Okay, we'll look put up this point.
They are reclassifying it under the CRZ 3, but it was actually CRZ 3 rural area.
That actually with development there are some changes, but we don't have a time actually to discuss those points. So we'll take this point into consideration. Okay. So now this is the time to close this session. We'll get back to the main hall where we'll go for joint session, next parallel session, where these inputs will be presented to all the audience. Okay. Let's close this session here. Thank you very much for all your inputs and suggestions.